The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Everybody, welcome to the 82nd episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite on this spooktacular edition as we are recording on the night of Halloween, my favorite holiday of all time. My name is Austin Sumowitz, joining with you after my break, which sadly kept the show off the air last week, but I am back. And I'm joined, as always, with my good friend, my good buddy, Floyd Johnson Jr. Dude, how you doing?
I am doing great. Florida State is on a bye week. And if you didn't know this, in the history of the Florida State Seminoles, they have never lost on a bye week. Ever. Undefeated.
It seems obvious, but I mean, it's a statistic that needs to be shared.
Yes, we have never, ever lost on a bye week. I will take that undefeated streak to my grave, hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully. So I will take this and honor it. Also, today was my friend Justin's birthday.
Yeah.
So my friend Justin is a big-time Nebraska Cornhusker fan. So, you know, I got him the hot, cool gift. I got him a cameo from, this guy was definitely before your time. He was done playing college football before you were born, but you may have heard stories of him, of the greatest quarterback in Nebraska Cornhusker history, Tommy Frazier, a.k.a. Touchdown Tommy.
Oh, Touchdown Tommy.
Yeah, he only lost one game in 3 years as a starter. The dude's amazing. But yeah, I got him a cameo from Tommy Frazier. Rich showing up Nebraska. That was great. Now, stop. We always hear from me. We gotta hear from you. How was your vacation, sir?
It was nice. It was very nice. I will let everyone know just in case you were concerned because I was traveling during this period of time. If not, totally understand. You don't know who I am mostly. But we were very safe. We were very precautious. We wore our masks every time we went out. We went to our hotel room and thoroughly wiped down like tables and bathrooms and everything like that just to be safe. We also did it when we left, and we just made sure to keep social distancing, all that kind of stuff when we went on the beach. There wasn't a ton of people there for the times that we were there, but it did get crowded at certain points because there was like a Jeep festival, which just people were just driving Jeeps all around town. And like there was a point where we woke up and there was literally a Jeep parade on the beach, and I was just so confused. I was like completely confused. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We did an escape room, which was great. We got out in like 8 minutes remaining, and I went golfing with my dad. I beat him for the first time, and he was not happy about it. We also had to do golf with 2 other people because we were kind of late to our tee off time, and they were like proficient on this course. We were not. I did okay, but I like slowly fell off when I went into the back 9. But I still beat my dad, and he is not happy about it. And then we also went to Top Golf, and my mom kicked our ass, like destroyed us. And again, my dad was not happy about that either. He was very much, his ego got shot. And then of course we get home, and Michigan shockingly loses to the team that lost to Rutgers and gave up 7 turnovers in Michigan State, he was a complete wreck. He's still kind of struggling right now, even hours afterwards, but hopefully he'll be okay. I lost myself. I was laughing so hard because I was like hoping that this would be finally be the thing that make everyone realize, like, hey, maybe Harbaugh's not a good coach and we should probably get rid of him. But I digress. But otherwise, yeah, trip was great. Had a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm just glad to be back on the show.
The coach killer, Austin Sumowitz. Fire!
Look, man. I got evidence. I got receipts as to why I want these coaches fired. Not just after 1 year. Like, people were calling for Mel Tucker to be fired after the Rutgers game, and I was like, chill. Like, hang on. He inherited D'Antonio's mess. Let's see what he can do, especially next year when he actually has a lot of time to actually scout and a lot of time to actually train his kids, because COVID kind of threw a wrench in all of that.
And he was a very late coach.
He was. No, and again, that's all D'Antonio's fault. Like, he would not have had that little time. People have had more time to prepare in bowl games than he has to prepare for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, so he got literally hired after recruiting was done. So
exactly.
When you say they're not his players, none of them are his players.
He still beat Michigan.
Yes, and he beat Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, 1-6 at home versus Michigan State and Ohio State. I know y'all
have not beat Ohio State in his entire tenure.
I know y'all didn't come here for sports, but it's hilarious, and it's Saturday, and basically on Saturday it's my religion. But I'm glad to hear how you're doing. Did you give your dad the hug for me? Because I did
give him the hug for you. Yeah, he said he appreciated it. And then we watched Girl on the Third Floor, the horror movie with CM Punk in it.
I don't watch horror movies, so Halloween.
I can't believe it. I'm shocked that you wouldn't watch horror movies.
I do not watch horror movies, though. The best I'll go is like a dark comedy and a thriller, like. Scream is considered a horror movie, and I'm doing the quotations in the air right now.
Yeah,
but It's more of a thriller than a horror movie. To me, it takes something to be a horror movie. It's something special, and it's like that whole shocking and jumping thing. I hate that. Hate being on edge. That's Halloween, dope candy, dope ass candy. What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing tomorrow morning? Walmart, half price candy. Fuck the world. What?
Yes. You go.
No, you need half
He's
price. He's
figured out the system.
I was like, I'll be there in the morning. They didn't do trick or treating in my area.
We had a couple kids.
They didn't do it at all, and I'm okay with that. I was okay whether you decided or not. Big thing with me is I know people will hate me saying this, and please don't quit listening to the show because of this. I just think. It's if you're willing to accept the risk, do what you want to do. You know what I mean? It's like if you're not a person not willing to accept the risk, don't be outside. You know what I mean? I think you at this point have a choice. We live in a state that doesn't take it seriously at all. That's Oklahoma. And it is what it is. I think I'm either going to get it or I'm not. I'm going to try. Do everything I can to prevent it, but it's like at this point where all the restrictions are basically lifted, I'm just like,
it's not much you can do, really.
It's not really much you can do. This wasn't a choice I made. This is a choice that was made for me. So it's like, whatever. Yeah. I'm just not going to sit there and harp on everybody. Oh, I saw a video of you with no mask on. Dude, live your life.
With me with no mask on?
No. I'm just saying, I'm just not going to harp on people that they do. I've seen that on Twitter. This guy's not wearing a mask. Like, dude, chill the fuck out. It's like, whatever. It's like,
yeah.
Some people do the mask thing, and somehow they still get it. And I'm not saying don't wear a mask. I'm all about it. I'm just like, just chill out. This sucks. Everybody has to go through it. But
anyway, yeah. Either way, though, with me not being here last week, we didn't make AEW Dynamite from last week on October 21st. We're going to quickly recap that before we get into this week's episode of Dynamite. But before we do that, I want to real quick let you know that this show, I want to make sure that you're downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. And please leave a rating and review if you are so inclined to. You can also leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle. And again, if you're listening on Google, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, Anchor, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, we would appreciate a share. Share the podcast if you enjoy it. Share it with your friends, your family, whoever you wish. And you can also support us on social media by following us at AT Elite Pod. At Social Suplex is our good friends at Social Suplex on Twitter. I am SZoomer4 on Twitter. I suggest following me only after the election, because if it doesn't go well, I'm probably not going to shut up on social media. So just to avoid that, probably follow me after this whole election stuff is done, probably for your own sake. And then, of course, Floyd Johnson Jr. at Twitter, if you want to follow Floyd. But going into the big news of the week, it's just the countdown to Full Gear. Pay-per-view's looking really, really stacked so far. We're going to get more into the matches and our predictions and all this kind of stuff, and also about our good friend Floyd and what he's doing for Full Gear. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, I mean, I'm crazy excited. They just released all the AEW pay-per-views, at least the main ones, on DVD. Hopefully they'll start getting them into Blu-rays. They still can't do all in for obvious reasons with Ring of Honor. But I'm so excited because we actually had a pretty good Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I'm just happy that we're getting good wrestling pay-per-views recently. So I'm really excited to see what AEW decides to do.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to Full Gear, looking forward to everything going on. I feel like the last few weeks have been really good shows where you've gotten a lot of variety for everybody. I am just going to go ahead and announce it now, and then I'm going to do it again later in the show.
All right.
Do it again later in the show. Full Gear contest announcement. The one annual thing or whatever, no matter what, AEW does a pay-per-view, you can count on your boys at AT Elite Pod, all things Elite Pod, to give away the show. So when I post the show, if you're listening, it's already been posted. When I post the show, make sure you're following at AT Elite Pod. I need you to like. I need you to retweet. And, like and retweet, comment saying, hey, I'm in or whatever. Let me know that you're with us. Like, retweet, comment. Yeah, that's the three. And you'll be entered into a contest to win Full Gear. I've been told I wait too long to announce the winner. So I will announce the winner Wednesday night on at AT Elite Pod right after the show. I'll do the drawing and then announce the winner right after Dynamite is over. And then we'll, of course, reiterate it when we do the show later. But again, we are giving away Full Gear. It's going to be on BR Live. And if you're in America, if you listen to the show and you're not in America, I will make sure you can get it on Fight TV. So either way, we got you covered. Let's go, Austin.
All right, yeah. But now let's go quickly into a short recap of the AEW Dynamite from October 21st, the week before this week's show. And honestly, we're not going to go in order, just because we've got a lot to cover on this week's show as well. So real quick, let's just start with the thing that everyone was talking about from the previous Dynamite, and I had to lead into this. It's Le Dinner Debonair with Chris Jericho and MJF about trying to get MJF and figure out if he's going to be in the Inner Circle, and it just kind of spiraled into something that nobody saw coming. It was... Floyd, can you describe this? Because I'm not sure if I could describe it and do it justice. Can you describe this as best you can?
Dude, it was a dinner conversation that got competitive, that turned into the friendliest Fred and Ginger-esque musical performance. And it was... Okay. I'll put it this way, because I'm always proclivity of positivity. I will start with the good thing. It was very well done and entertaining. I will say that. It was very well done. It was executed. I don't know how many takes it took, but it was executed with perfection. And, they just had this energy, and you can just tell MJF is a natural just showman. It's like he really hammed it up, and I was like, not too many times would you think anybody could steal a scene from Chris Jericho, but I felt like MJF was the star of the scene. So I'm going to start with that. But yes, it was a very good thing. It was just like, if you're watching a 30s or 40s movie with sound and they just bust out into a dance performance, that's what this was. It was like a very serious conversation that turned into a dance performance. I didn't ever thought I would see this in wrestling. I'd be like, if you asked me that I want to see it, I'd be like, I wouldn't answer it because I'd be like, it's never going to happen. And it did. So never say never. What'd you think, Austin?
I was completely in shock. I mean, when you think about it, like the idea of having a segment of MJF and Chris Jericho, one is a former member of all men a cappella group. One is a lead singer of multiple bands, one of which including the guy who sings his own theme in Fozzy. It kind of makes sense that they would do something where they all sang together. But, I mean, what we got was like a combination of like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. shit. And it was like, look, I've grown up with musicals in my life. My mom and my whole family love Broadway. And we go to New York. We've been to New York multiple times to see Broadway musicals and stuff like that. And I'm a sucker for stuff like this. But, like, the thing about this, and, like, because, of course, like, the argument came up, and I knew it would, too, was that if WWE did this, then everyone would fucking hate it. But in a sense, yeah. But the reason as to why that's the difference between the two is just because the foundation of the characters have been built up a lot more properly than, say, WWE would, where it's like these characters, like in their interactions, it just makes sense. And I mean, this is an AEW podcast, so we'll come off as shilling if that's what you think we're doing. But I mean, I don't know, man. I knew people would hate this. My good friend Ryan hated this so much, and he was like, so tell me again how MJF is the greatest. And I'm like, I will surely tell you that. And he was just like, ugh. And I knew he'd hate it. And of course, other people hated it too. I knew it would be the case. But I mean, like, dude, I laughed so hard watching that. And it was just so entertaining. And like I said, like, I mean, like, I didn't know I wanted that, but it gave it to me. And I will gladly take it. I didn't know what it was, and at the same time I didn't want it to stop because I was just losing it with how funny it was. But I completely understand those who don't like it. I totally get it.
So I gave a very positive answer, correct?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely did not like this. Like
I said,
I want to be clear.
Sense.
If they said, if this was like they did a Road 2 and this was on the YouTube show, right? Or if they said, hey, here's a YouTube video of what happened between Jericho,
if it was like an April Fool's thing.
Yeah, I would have been fine. But you interrupted my wrestling show for a musical. Not really when I'm watching wrestling 2 hours on Wednesday night, this is not what I'm looking for. But again, let me clarify, everything's not for me. You know what I mean? It's just if it brought new eyes to it, if it had people looking at it on YouTube that wouldn't have looked for it, I am all for it. I'm all about attention in whatever form it comes. But for 39-year-old male from Oklahoma, I was not their target demographic with this performance.
Yes, and again, if you didn't like it, I completely understand. It comes out of fucking nowhere, and like it's just corny as all hell. But dude, like as somebody who does enjoy musicals and does enjoy like silly shit in his wrestling, I very much enjoyed this. And if you didn't like it, I'm sorry. I mean, like the rest of the show was still pretty dang strong. And if you were looking for stuff to look forward to, I mean, hey, you got the return of the cleaner. Kenny Omega faced Sonny Kiss, who replaced Joey
Janela.
Joey Janela. Yep. There's a lot of J's in fucking AEW that I was just blanking on the name because I was like, JJ. But Sonny Kiss filled in for Joey Janela because he had gotten in contact with somebody with COVID-19. Quickly replaced it. He had dancing women with brooms at the entrance as Justin Roberts was listing accomplishments that Kenny Omega had. He comes out, shakes his Sonny Kiss's hand, V-trigger, one-winged angel, pins him, and then just has the smuggest look on his face. I lost it. It was so funny.
Kenny Omega I learned he cannot win. Very short statement. We can move on. But if he doesn't squash Alan Angels, he's breaking the internet because he didn't beat Alan Angels fast enough. He squashes Sonny Kiss. He's breaking the internet because he squashes Sonny Kiss, and apparently that means he really hates gay people. And again, a lot of times I question, do people know this stuff is written and this is a performance? I'm very confused. I'm like, this is a performance. It was great. It drove home the fact that Kenny Omega is back to being the older Kenny Omega. Sonny Kiss just happened to be the other person on the other side of the ring. It was
going to be Joey, but then he called out.
The same thing was going to happen to Joey Janela. So they just literally changed who took it. And sorry. Okay, I can stop there. It's just, I loved it. I sat on Twitter and scrolled through and read every comment and laughed my ass off because people have some people, like myself, have no lives. And then other people take this shit way too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, he doesn't hate gay people because he won a wrestling match.
Yes, like, come on.
I was like, come on. I don't care what he has done outside. I know there are many different things you can say Kenny Omega did outside of the ring that makes him an ally. I do. But I'm saying screw that. Winning a scripted fight does not decide whether you hate gay people or not. Sorry. That tells you nothing.
It doesn't.
It tells you nothing. And I just think it was so stupid that people went there. I just thought that was the dumbest thing. Forget the obvious ways that you're wrong. But that was just the dumbest conclusion to come to.
That's just, yeah. I don't know.
Like, how did you get from point A to point B?
I don't know.
And then type it out, proofread it to make sure there was no spell check errors, and then press enter. How did that happen?
I don't know, man. Twitter's a weird place. It's still weird to me. But again, like, you got the return of the cleaner, and then you got a fucking insane match between the Lucha Bros themselves, Rey Fenix versus Penta El Zero M. Holy hell! Like, I still don't know how they did some of the shit in that match. Like, I retweeted some of the GIFs from that match, and I still cannot explain how they do that. I don't know how. It was unbelievable, and Phoenix got the win on Penta, and it was great. I mean, it's like match of the night, like 100%, and I was just in awe of what happened in that match. Completely in awe.
Every time they wrestle, all I think is, I know the match was amazing. All I think is, why aren't they featured singles performances?
Seriously,
it's like, why isn't Penta going for the world title and Ray going for the TNT title, or vice versa?
I'm really hoping that this turns into a kind of Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa thing. Like, yeah. I'm really hoping, because like they had their one match in a tournament, and then they were still they're still close with each other. They still team, but there's already been signs of them like splitting apart, and like I'd be 100% down if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm just like, if you just let Penta be Penta, he would probably be the most over person in the company.
And if you you could literally have Penta be, like, if Penta's the heel and you have Phoenix as the unbelievable high-flying babyface, like, dude, he would be, like, I swear to God, Rey Mysterio levels. Like, not even kidding.
I completely agree. I say it, when I talk about it, when people ask me who's the best in-ring performer in the world, I say Rey Fenix. That is not a slight to Kenny Omega. That is not a slight to Kota Ibushi, which I feel like are very high on this list. I just, every time Rey Fenix is in the ring, he does something I've never seen another human do before. So therefore, I'm like, you're the best ever at this. And like I said, it's completely opinion-based, but very big fan of Rey Fenix.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the other tournament matches we had for the number one contendership for the AEW title. We had Jungle Boy versus Wardlow. Really strong match, I think, as well, where Wardlow continued his winning streak, getting it up to 9 matches. And Jungle Boy, again, had a really great performance. And then, of course, backed by his Jurassic Express friends and Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt, who did a good job as to be like chilling on the outside while MJF was outside and just kind of watching the matches. Actually, no, he wasn't outside in this match. He wasn't there at all. But Wardlow still looked like a beast in that match, and he moved on in the tournament. And then we had Hangman Adam Page and Colt Cabana face off in that other qualifier, and I love Cabana, and like he was just one of the guys that just had to just get beat first round by Hangman, because like we knew where this was leading towards, and Hangman's just been on a roll. He did really good, and there was a point where I just liked how he's like trying to impress Dark Order so much in his matches, and it's been really entertaining. But those are really the big things we wanted to talk about, and then of course the last thing was last week's main event, which was the 4-way tag team match where the winner receives a world title match at Full Gear between Butcher and the Blade, Dark Order, and Alex Reynolds and John Silver, Private Party, and the Young Bucks, all over the place as you would expect. Just high spot after high spot after high spot, which eventually led to the Young Bucks getting the win. It's happening. Young Bucks versus FTR at Full Gear for the AEW tag team titles.
So the moment this happens, this will be like from the news and notes. The moment this happened, the moment Young Bucks won, and I will tell you, honestly, I was rooting for any other team to win. The reason being is this: I wanted the Young Bucks and FTR to be in front of a crowd, but you can't keep pushing things back because injuries happen, other things happen. So you have to basically book your story how you were going to book it. FTR won. The minute FTR won, flight tickets, went to Southwest, bought the flight tickets, then sent the email to my boss saying I needed this day off. Hotel, car booked. Your boy Floyd is going to Jacksonville to see his 2 favorite tag teams currently wrestle each other. It is a moment that I've been waiting for like 4 years. I love both of these teams. They're going to tear the house down. Oh my God. I'm just so excited. And yesterday, I got my ticket. And it was funny because I just got straight through, was in line, got my ticket. I am in the best mood because your boy's going to Full Gear.
Yeah, I'm very jealous, like I said, but yeah, I'm very happy for you, man. But those are the big things we wanted to talk about from last week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Now we'll again get into this week's episode of Dynamite. I know we've spent a little bit of time going on it, so we'll try to get a little bit quicker through each of the matches, but we'll do our best to make sure we don't make this episode way too long. We opened the show, we had Wardlow, and he was being interviewed by Dasha before his match against Hangman Adam Page. MJF then interrupted him and then talks about how if Wardlow wins this tournament and beats the champion, I become the AEW World Champion because Wardlow's under contract to me, which means he's my property. And then Wardlow's just like, yeah, okay, fine. And then Sammy Guevara runs in and then screams about how he's not MJF's friend, he's not his buddy, and he's going to make sure he never joins the Inner Circle tonight as they have their town hall that they're doing for the Inner Circle. They have a stare down. Wardlow's music hits, and then we have the opening match of the show, Wardlow versus Hangman Adam Page. And it was a really strong opening match, and I think, again, very predictable. We kind of knew where this tournament was leading when it was booked. But at the same time, though, Wardlow does really, really well. It's like you can tell there's a lot with him and just the stuff that he can do, and he plays a really good heel. I think he'll do really well when eventually they decide to break him off from MJF, and I think he could do some really cool stuff. Hangman, again, just like it's like you just know with a crowd there, like he would just get the biggest pops because, like, I mean, I was there at Revolution. He was so fucking over, and he's still over as hell. And I think just what we're going to get at Full Gear is going to be nothing short of amazing as he moves on to the finals and beat Wardlow to go to the finals at Full Gear, and then he would find out his opponent later on tonight. But Floyd, just real quick, thoughts on this opening match?
I thought this opening match was super physical, exactly what I wanted. A big roadblock for Hangman to have to wrestle, and he had to wrestle and do things a little differently, even though he did do an overhead throw from the second rope. But he, jumped off the top to land on Wardlow, and he caught him. Oh, God, he's a physical freak. I'm just going to have to get a shout out to AEW because people, like last year, Vanity Project, the whole idea that it was an elite vanity project is just been completely turned on side his head because you see who the current elite wrestlers are, the push people. That's Moxley, that's Cody, that's Hangman, Kenny. The Bucks are on that level, but you have this right underneath second tier of young talent that's ready to take over. And I mean, even though Brian Cage is a little older, I put him in that second tier. And then you're talking MJF, you're talking Wardlow, they can heat up anytime. You're talking Will Hobbs. It's like you have this level that they've built up so well that it's going to be when it is time to kind of pass the baton and feature these people, they're going to be ready because they're working every week. And it's just like a bright future to look forward to. I remember when AEW started, they had a big man problem. They didn't have any. Now it's almost like they have too many. Again, adjusting on the fly, adding the talent. Shout out to AEW.
Hell yeah, yeah. And I think Wardlow has a lot of good things looking forward to him. I think, like I said, the way that he's got his kind of his conflict with MJF is going to pay off really well. But going into the next match, we had Mad King Eddie Kingston with Butcher and Blade Bunny at his side, facing off against Matt Sydal. My prayers were answered. He's finally on Dynamite, but he's getting his ass kicked. Matt Sydal did relatively well. He nearly was able to put away Kingston. He got a good combo with a knee and a roundhouse kick at one point, but then Kingston kicked out. But by that point, he hits a spinning back fist on Matt Sydal, and then he quickly applies the Bulldog choke. Same one that Jon Moxley uses, forces Matt Sydal to tap, and then forces Matt Sydal to say, "I quit," as the match between the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley at Full Gear will be an I Quit match. And yes, I'm completely for that. Like how, first of all, I don't believe we got to talk about the I Quit stipulation. Fucking great stipulation. Eddie Kingston has been saying, I did not tap, I did not tap, I did not tap, I did not tap. And now you have no choice. One of them is going to have to say I quit for the match to end. And I think they're going to be taking each other to hell and back to get one of the other to say that. And in terms of wrestlers that I want to see in an I Quit match, this is a good group of guys that I would want to see. Just these two are going to demolish each other, and I'm all for it. Eddie Kingston is like slowly becoming one of my favorite heels in AEW. He's just a boss. He's just so intimidating, so entertaining, and so vicious that I'm just like so excited to see how this match turns out at Full Gear. It's like there's a lot of matches I'm looking forward to at Full Gear. This is one of them, and I think it might be one of the sleeper hits. I mean, even though it's the AEW World Title match, and you wouldn't think it would be a sleeper hit, despite like some of the other matches on the card, this is still going to be like insanely good. But Floyd, your thoughts?
Okay, I love Eddie on the mic. That dude absolutely can talk me into a building. He can make me pay him just to stand in front of him. It's amazing. I like when Eddie Kingston fights. I love when his, is in a street fight, last man standing match, whatever. I love that. I hate when he wrestles. I think his wrestling is so boring. I love Eddie. And everybody knows I was one of the first hashtag sign Eddie Kingston. But when he wrestles, oh God, I'm about to nod off. It's just it's so simplistic and just like grinding. And it's just like, I can see how it would work, but it works. His style works better in a fight. So this Matt Sydal match was not my favorite thing in the world, but the fact that he's a little crazy and was talking to Matt Sydal like he was Jon Moxley was, again, that performance aspect of Eddie Kingston took me back to that level 11. I was like, and then he started doing the performance stuff, and it's like, oh my God, this dude is so effing good. I literally want to put him in every movie ever.
Right?
Just so he can cut a 2-minute speech about how hard the streets are and how hard his life was growing up. That would be in, like, if Floyd made movies, that section would be in every movie. Oh, here comes the Eddie Kingston speech again. He would get shot, like, right after. But, dude, he's just so good at it.
He is. He's just really fucking good. We then had a sit-down interview with the Young Bucks and the AEW World Tag Team Champions in FTR. Excalibur was hosting the interview. Tully Blanchard, of course, joining FTR, talking about how the week before, Matt Jackson got a steel chair wrapped around his leg and got very much injured and has a leg injury going into Full Gear. He said he'll hop on one leg, but he will be at Full Gear. And he talks about how that Young Bucks, like, something was missing between them, how they've got their killer instinct back. Like, sometimes good people do bad things, and that's what the explanation for the reason why the Young Bucks are acting like they are. He doesn't like that they're this angry, but this is how he feels, and he just feels it 100%. And thanks to the arrival of FTR, old Young Bucks are back, and FTR felt like it was a one-sided interview, and then quickly left, stormed off, and Matt Jackson then declares at Full Gear, we're putting it all on the line. If we don't successfully win the AEW World Tag Team titles against FTR, we will never challenge for the titles again. They're doing the Cody thing. Floyd.
At the same show. Come on.
At the same show as last year. At the same exact show.
Come on. They calling a shot at the same show. I was like, I mean, I know Cody is on his straight and narrow good guy path, but that would be the perfect reason for Cody to turn heel. You know, like wrestling reason.
Yeah.
He's like, you did this to come out here and win this match and show me up. That's why you did it. Because, you know, that the heel would inflate whatever happened or conflated to make it about him. He's like, you did that to take a shot at me. And that would be hilarious. But in this case, the Young Bucks, I don't know why you had to add anything to this match.
I don't know either. The fact that they decided to do the Cody thing, like, because that's the thing. All people tied it to is like, oh, they're going the Cody route with this match. And I'm like, I get it. People don't like the idea of the Young Bucks not challenging for the tag titles and their own promotion is blasphemy. And like with Cody not challenging for the main title, like people are like, what the fuck? And like the fact that they actually went through it, we were that shocked us just in general, just because like we didn't think they would ever do something like that. And but now it's the second time around, only a year later, on the same pay-per-view that they did it last time.
And it's just
it's so weird.
It's not needed.
It's just confusing.
And it's not needed.
Yeah, you don't need to add that stipulation.
This is a match that has been... Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say, it should make sense in the context of the match when it happens and whatever they decide to do in the future. But, like, just off the top, just like when they announced it, I was just confused.
This is the only match that you can say that was built pre-AEW existing.
Exactly.
You can honestly say AEW exists so this match could happen. These two tag teams have a feverish and hardcore fan base.
And a rivalry without even meeting in the ring until only this year.
Yes. 1 versus 2 for the titles. Doesn't need anything else. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to have the Super Bowl, but we're going to do it on water in front of gators. No, the Super Bowl doesn't need anything else. It is on its own. Yeah. This is the Super Bowl of tag team matches. This is the one everyone's been looking for. It doesn't need a promise from the Young Bucks. It adds nothing to the match. It actually takes away from the match because you start thinking, well, Cody lost last year. There's no way in Sam hell the Bucks are losing this year, and you're taking my focus away from just enjoying the match. I'm going to be thinking about the result. Because I honestly, I'm going to say this. This is me breaking my FTR kayfabe. I honestly don't care who wins this match. I have literally won because this match is happening. This is, since I've known FTR existed, since I've known the Young Bucks existed, this has been my dream match. I said, as if this match happened anywhere in the world that I could feasibly get to, I would be there for it. It doesn't need anything else. I'm done now.
Yeah, and again, like, we were, like, people would have paid hand over fist for this match regardless. And honestly, if you wanted to do the stipulation, like, it's not like FTR and the Young Bucks aren't going to face again. And it's not like they're going to face for the titles again. These guys are going to hold the titles. Well, we imagine, like, unless they go through with the Cody thing like they're saying, we can't imagine, like, these two teams not holding the tag team titles multiple times within AEW's existence. So you could have easily have done this, like, in the second or third or fourth match between these teams. It's like, you know what? Fine. We're cap. This is like the kind of thing that you cap off a rivalry with. This is the first legitimate match we're getting between the Young Bucks and FTR, and it kind of feels like they're shotgunning, like, their load a little bit too quickly. But, like, again, in terms of these guys, in terms of FTR, in terms of the Young Bucks, in terms of AEW, I tend to trust them a little bit more with weird decisions. And, like, again, we'll have to wait and see when the pay-per-view happens, when Full Gear happens, to see if that decision was worth it or if it kind of took away from the match. We'll find out at the show itself. But again, just very confusing, very weird. But I mean, like, it's still FTR versus the Young Bucks. It's still going to be unfucking believable. It's going to be the payoff to one of the biggest rivalries between two teams. Like I said, they only just got in the ring and faced off against each other this year. And this rivalry has been going on for multiple years.
God, I want FTR to win so bad, but
I know you do.
It just seems like, oh my God, I don't want the Young Bucks to lose now. I want FTR to win, but I don't want the Young Bucks to lose.
Sure.
Because I don't like that stipulation. It's dumb.
Well, the reason why, well, first of all, your boy Cody can't challenge for the AEW title, so that's one reason. But now it's just kind of like,
no, it's just
yeah, I know.
You don't get, okay. Tell me Cody wouldn't have been a good, like, a big match for Moxley for the title.
Totally.
Like, you say Cody versus Moxley. You can sell a pay-per-view on that. But based on Cody's stipulation, you can't have that match.
It's not yet.
Yeah, so you're going to say we can't ever have the Young Bucks versus FTR for the tag team titles ever again? Is that what you're saying? That's just...
No, yeah, again, yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
You're writing yourself into a corner that doesn't need to be there because it's not even needed in this match. If this was the 5th time the Young Bucks and FTR fought in a year, and FTR was like 4-0, and the Young Bucks like, dude, if we can't beat them, like the Ric Flair thing, if we can't beat them, if we can't compete with them on that level, if we can't be on that level, we don't deserve to ever challenge for the title again. Yes, I would be all for it. Even if they had said, hey, we lost in the tournament for this title. We got a title defense against this team. We then got a title defense against this team. Okay, so this is our 4th title defense in a year, right? And we've lost all the other ones. If we don't win, then we deserve it. Even that's the same thing, but you have at least positioned it differently. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
It did.
It just, I don't know. It's just like, it's shotgunning a storyline, and I'm like, I think you could build a whole pay-per-view based on just that stipulation. Like, you have this match, FTR wins, then, and this stipulation wasn't there, you could build up to Full Gear or to Double or Nothing and say, okay, the FTR was like, okay, we'll give you a shot. We will give you a shot. We will skip the line. We will go to Tony to say, hey, you can skip the line. But if you lose, you never get to defend the fight for the title again. It literally should have at least came from them and not from the Young Bucks. It just seems, like I said, it seems like a waste. Maybe I'm wrong. And if you're listening and you think I'm wrong, hit me up, tell me. But it just seems like it's weird that it's there.
Yeah, and again, all we hope is that this stipulation doesn't detract from the match itself, which I'm almost positive it won't. But, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see for Full Gear. Now, we have the Inner Circle Town Hall meeting where we find out whether or not MJF should join the Inner Circle. Jericho comes out with his posse, minus Sammy Guevara, who didn't want to be there. And then MJF comes out and talks about how he shows a chart about how Inner Circle earnings would spike if Jericho had MJF join the Inner Circle. And also, Jericho talked about if he ever tried to turn on the Inner Circle, if MJF turned on him, they'd knock his teeth down his throat. And Eric Bischoff showed up yet again. Always nice to see good old Eric. And just talks about, like, what can MJF do for the Inner Circle? He says friendship, and then he says what? Then he asks him, "What do you believe the Inner Circle can do for you?" And he says, "With all these great men in the Inner Circle, I could learn how to be a team player." And then he then asks one final question in saying, "Chris Jericho is a prima donna." Obviously, these two have worked together in the past, and you possess many of those same traits. What's to guarantee that if you join the Inner Circle, you and Jericho just don't wind up killing each other? And MJF doesn't answer the question. Bischoff demands the question. Also, Tony Schiavone should have just moderated the presidential elections. He's such a gem, and he did a great job of getting him to shut up. And next time, guys, invite Tony Schiavone. He'll do great numbers for you. He'll do great work for you. And he then says... MJF goes, "After all I've given to you, what haven't I done, Chris?" And he says, "You haven't beat me, but he'll give you a chance. Full Gear, November 7th, MJF versus Chris Jericho 1-on-1. And if he wins, he gets to join the Inner Circle." And then MJF says, "I'll do whatever it takes to win." Ortiz doesn't like this idea, and Sammy doesn't like it as well. So then he issued a challenge for next week's Dynamite. Sammy and Ortiz versus MJF versus Wardlow, making sure that he doesn't make it to Full Gear in one piece. And yeah, that was the segment overall. Relatively entertaining. Had some cool moments, especially Peter Avalon just like, "I'm going to shoot my shot. Can I join the Inner Circle?" And they just laugh their asses off. And yeah, we get to see MJF versus Chris Jericho.
This was a fun segment.
It was, yeah.
It was a really fun segment. I definitely preferred this to the Dinner Debonair if I'm doing the two segments together.
If we're talking about stuff that actually built towards like storyline, yes, this did way more than the Dinner Debonair, which honestly was just there for knocking you on your ass with like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
because this actually built two matches out of this segment, so like it got a lot accomplished and really did a good job at building towards Full Gear. The Dinner Debonair, as much as I love it, like you got nothing from that. It was just like there was no story.
It was just fun. It was just fun.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and they kind of forgot about it immediately afterwards. Besides saying it was the greatest segment in all of professional wrestling.
Yes, he said, "What did I give you?" And to me, it came off very sexual when he said, "I gave you the greatest segment you've ever had in your life." And I laughed way too hard at that. Because I was like, he said, "I gave you the greatest segment you've ever had in your life." And I loved it. And then the beef he has with the other guys. And, of course, Jericho is on this, hey, I'm going to build the next generation of the company tour. Because if you look at his last three pay-per-views, it's MJF, MJF at this one. Previous, it was OC. Was OC was at All Out. And...
I mean, even then, it was like he built up the in Private Party. Like,
yeah, I don't remember who was at
singles matches.
Yeah, I don't remember who was at Double or Nothing, but it was another match. It was just like he's working with the young people in the group, letting them get better, letting them know how to work TV matches, how to put together matches with a professional. You know, he is his age, so limited ability compared to what he used to be. You're learning so much just from being in a program with Chris Jericho. I think this could elevate MJF to that next level. Like, I feel like the match with Moxley did establish him as part of that elite group that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But true title contender, true title winner, he puts on a hell of a performance with Chris Jericho. People are going to be asking, when is MJF getting the belt?
Yeah, honestly. Now, we have the first ever lumberjack match for the TNT Championship. Orange Cassidy versus the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And the reason that they had the lumberjack stipulation was to prevent the Dark Order from interfering. And overall, first of all, the fact that Best Friends were there as lumberjacks was great. And of course, Dustin, QT, and Arn were there as well. Overall, strong match. I think it was a pretty good, okay TNT match, I would think, depending on who you ask. I think it's more mid-tier in terms of the TNT Championship matches that I've seen. Darby was scouting Cody high in the arena, and it will be Cody versus Darby for the TNT title at Full Gear. We get a pay-per-view rematch between these two. Of course, their match at Fyter Fest was probably one of my favorites in AEW. Like, it's just really, really good. But I mean, it's a lumberjack match. Like, they're not my favorite, and there's just kind of like there's a lot going on in it, and just never been one of those stipulations that I've been a massive fan of. I've never been a massive fan of, but this is okay. I think it did well for the TNT title. Orange Cassidy still looks great. Cody still looks great, and it builds up to Cody defending the title at Full Gear. So, I mean, like, I don't really got much else to say about this match unless, Floyd, you have anything you want to add to it?
This match was very fun. It featured John Silver.
It did.
Which, if you've noticed the last 4 weeks, John Silver has done something. It's like, Tony's like, this guy's funny. And he has become a larger part of the show, and I freaking love that.
I was going to say, I've completely forgot about that John Silver spot, but yes, like the fact that it seems like Tony Khan has really taken a notice as to how good John Silver has been over recent weeks and months, like, and that they're using him even like in these small little doses to keep him on the show and keep people noticing him and like just like including him in all this fun.
Yeah,
cool,
they're not
funny
shoehorning
segments.
him in. Though.
No,
they
not
make
like,
sense.
It's like shoving him down into your throat or anything like that.
Yeah, it makes sense how he's in the show, and it's the subtle thing there, and I loved it. And I love how Best Friends cheated first.
Yes,
they attacked Cody, and it was like, when Arn punches OC over in the corner, it's more like, I'm just kind of even in the playing grounds, right? And then Cody finishes the match off, and the Excalibur's like, Arn hit him. And I'm like, well, fucking Chuck and Trent were doing it early, even though they were lumberjacks in it. There's really no DQ in a lumberjack match, so doesn't really matter. I just thought it was a really good match. Really fun match. I think him and OC have this weird chemistry. That first time I watched them, I didn't think they had like any chemistry, especially in the first 2 minutes of the match. They didn't look like they knew where each other was supposed to be. But this match was so much more smooth and physical, and Orange Cassidy looked like he has like just so much talent. I absolutely hate that he kicked out of, like, Orange did both his finishers back to back, and then Cody kicked out. Hate that. That's just me. I think finishers should finish. But Cody hit the crossroads. Love my guy. He's winning. And the world is right back to normal Cody in a singles match at an AEW pay-per-view. I just hugged myself.
Yes. It's just, like I said, I always go back to their match at Fyter Fest, and Darby still is incredible, and honestly, I'm legit pulling for him so hard to win this title. Like, it's like, we've enjoyed Cody as the TNT champion. He got his title back from the Dark Order, and I think it's gonna. I mean, like, if there was ever time to jump on Darby while the stove is hot, and when the iron is hot, like, give this man a title. Like, I really think having Darby as the TNT champion, because first of all, I don't think you need to go that route of just having open challenge matches, which, I mean, like we said before, they're good, they're fun, but like having a build for your title is much stronger than just hot-shotting title matches against random people. And I think having Darby feud with somebody for the TNT title, that's what I want to see with that title. I want to see a really cool mid-card feud with these two guys, and Darby just run roughshod as a champion. And like, literally just like, I want to see Darby get the title that like he's very much earned in this company. He's done nothing but good stuff, I think.
I completely agree with you. I'm going into the show expecting an amazing match, but I'm also going into the show expecting a Darby win. Now, if they shock me, that's great, but you know, it's just, I think this has been built well enough, and he's hot enough. God, I just wish a packed crowd could be at the show.
Same, dude. Same. I just can't. It's like, I like the one thing I totally like. I've enjoyed having the small crowds in AEW and enjoyed the Thunderdome in WWE. But like, God, I want live wrestling in full packed houses.
Yeah, and it's just like AEW sells out houses, and it would have just been this live amazing house. I know it's not something we can happen. I probably should stop bringing it up. But I just think this is like...
We miss it.
This is lining up as one of AEW's best on-paper pay-per-views.
Yes!
And it's going to be like 600 people. And it's just like...
But you'll be there.
I will be there.
But just shout loud. Just shout loud.
I'm going to shout as hard as I can. So let's do that.
Backstage, we had Kip Sabian and the Best Man Miro attacking Trent and Chuck Taylor. So I'm very excited to see we got something coming out of that. We then had my girl, Serena Deeb, who recently became the NWA Women's Champion. Fucking yes! Yes! My former Straight Edge Society member is the NWA World Women's Champion. I fucking love it. Thunder Rosa's amazing. I love her too. But like, the fact that Serena Deeb is NWA Women's Champion, I'm so fucking for that. Like, yes. She took on legit Layla Hirsch. I'm bad at pronunciation. Hirsch, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Cool. Layla Hirsch. And they had a really, again, like, it's disappointing about how, like, AEW is continuingly to just having one women's match on their show. It's just, it needs to get to the point where they're getting more women on the show and not just having one single match on their show. Again, like, I think their work with the NWA has helped that because, I mean, like, Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa having them on the show, and this match was really good. I love Serena, and I've been so happy to see her back on AEW and on AEW and on TV that I can actually watch, and seeing her with the title I love as well. Layla looked great too. Like, I haven't seen a ton of her before. Of course, I'm not too versed in NWA Power. I want to, but they did really, really well, I think. I mean, She won the title the night before Dynamite, and she defended it this night. So, I mean, that's a great moment right there. And, I mean, like, it was a good little cleanser from the last match. I mean, you just had a straight-up title match right after that. I still, like, we keep saying it, like, we're just waiting for more women's matches to be produced on the show. But, again, the only way we can have that happen is if people actually watch the women's matches. So I'm hoping that with Serena Deeb showing up as the NWA Women's Champion, I love this relationship that they're having with the NWA, hopefully with the people like that, and of course with hopefully people getting a little bit more behind Sheeta and seeing what happens with her title run, and having her facing Nyla Rose, as they said after this match backstage, Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida at Full Gear. Hopefully people will be into that match as well. But yeah, I mean, that's about all I can say about that. Anything you want to add to this, Floyd?
Two things. Dr. Britt Baker, in an interview, said it's simple. If you want more women's matches, quit turning the channel.
Exactly. That's all it takes.
Number two, this shows an evolution in the relationship between AEW and NWA. this AEW show was taped the week, at the last taping, right? And the NWA show wasn't shown until Tuesday, right? So they taped this with her as NWA champion and worked with NWA not to spoil it. That way, as soon as it was announced that she was the champion in NWA, they then said she was going to defend the title on AEW. That's two companies working their storylines and angles together, which, to me, that represents a step up in the AEW-NWA relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we had Sean Spears on AEW Dynamite, which, fuck yeah, always love to see Sean. Accompanied by Tully Blanchard versus VCK making his Dynamite debut. And there was a little bit of talk about the bad blood between Sean Spears and Scorpio Sky. We've seen quick little video segments about that. Quickly, Sean Spears got a fireman carry and hit the C4 and got the pin, like, real quick. And then someone dressed up in a Halloween costume was yelling at Sean Spears, threw Halloween candy at him. He pulls the costume fan into the ring, takes off the mask, and, he turns to Tully, loads up his glove, and while this was happening, mask gets removed. Scorpio Sky, he hosts Sky up and hits him with the TKO. And Scorpio Sky and Sean Spears, fuck yeah. This feud hasn't gotten a ton of TV time, but in terms of two guys that work really well, and I would imagine would do great work together, it's just those two. This was a very quick moment, and it was just right before our main event. But anything quick you want to add to this before we get to main event time? I got
nothing to add to it.
Nothing to add. I totally get it. It's Scorpio. We all love Scorpio. Sean Spears, we've seen little bits and pieces of this, and we'll probably see more down the line. But I'm at least glad we got to see Sean quickly on TV. But now, main event time: Kenny Omega versus Penta El Zero Miedo, with Rey Fenix actually joining him, the man he beat to move to the semifinals. Winner of this match faces Hangman Adam Page at Full Gear to compete for a number one contendership for the AEW World Title. We all knew where this was going, but doesn't matter. The match was still fucking great. He also, Kenny Omega, came out with the AAA Mega World Championship belt around his waist. He beat Rey Fenix for that title. I love little nods like that, and also I'm glad that Kenny Omega hasn't forgotten that he has that title, because for a second I thought he did. And they just beat the shit out of each other. In terms of two unbelievable workers, you have the man that was considered to be the best wrestler in the world for a very long time facing Pentagon, one of a lot of people's favorite tag teams, and just Rey Fenix and Pentagon themselves are just fucking unbelievably good. They just beat the hell out of each other in a vicious match, and it just finished up with Kenny Omega getting the win, and he is going to face Hangman Adam Page. It's going to be the battle of the former tag team champions. Like we said going into this tournament, we knew it was going to lead down this road. I'm still fucking stoked and jazzed about this match itself. And this main event was fucking great. You got to see singles wrestler Kenny Omega just in his element. And also, fun fact, you got a rematch from All In this match, because of what we got at All In was Kenny Omega versus Penta, and that's when we got to see Jericho debut. I love how shit works out like that. And now we get the return of Kenny Omega as a singles wrestler and as the cleaner, as he faced off against the man that he faced at All In when all this started. So, and now, of course, the main event, you got Full Gear with Kenny and Hangman, which is going to fucking be insane. But that's Dynamite. Real quick, Floyd, thoughts on this match in particular, in this main event?
Okay, so a couple thoughts. First of all, because of how hot they were as a tag team, it's been forever since either one of them have taken a pin, Kenny or Hangman. So this is going to be a very well-built match going forward. Second, I thought the Pentagon match and him were good. It drove a point. They clearly left something there, just for when they have to do this again, which is awesome. Sometimes wrestling being predictable is great, especially when your predictable leads you to Hangman versus Kenny. I have no idea who's going to win. That's going to be unpredictable. So I am, I am definitely looking forward to this. I do need to give a very important shout out because it happened during the intro to my group, my family, my boys at WrestleJoy.com who got shot out and during the entrance. WrestleJoy.com has called him a wrestling genius when speaking of Kenny Omega. It's been great that, the site's got that shout out. So it did the site didn't exist like 7 months ago, and now it's been mentioned on AEW twice. So that's pretty epic.
It is, yeah. Shout out to them. And yeah, that was AEW Dynamite for this week. Great strong show. We've only got one more Dynamite before Full Gear, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the kickoff show goes, and we're going to go ahead and recap. Well, not recap. We're going to preview. My apologies. We're going to preview next week's Dynamite, the go-home show for Full Gear. Now, the matches that we have announced is we have Sammy Guevara and Ortiz versus MJF and Wardlow, which was announced at the segment for Inner Circle with their town hall. We also have Scorpio Sky versus Shawn Spears going into this. Of course, we had the little segment before the main event that leads into this. We have Miro versus Trent, they got jumped. We had a little segment building into that. I'm just glad we're getting more stuff to see Miro with in that. And then we have Cody and the Gun Club teaming to face Colt Cabana, Silver, and 10 of the Dark Order. And they just announced Gun Club is in the Nightmare family, so they're gonna wrestle. So yeah, interesting lineup you have announced for the Go Home show for Full Gear, just in stuff that they've already announced. Not the kind of stuff that I would expect to be announced for a Go Home show, but I'm excited to see.
So two things that I didn't put on there. They're gonna have Eddie Kingston and Moxley in the ring face-to-face interview,
yes.
And Chris Jericho is going to be on commentary at some point during the show, if not the whole show. So those are two things I did miss from the preview. I'm just looking at it. I'm just like, yeah, it's a card. It's a Dynamite,
It doesn't seem like a go-home show, though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a go-home show. There's little excitement in there, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the show. But yeah, Scorpio and Shawn Spears, I hope it's given time. I'm hoping
I do too.
Time.
I really hope that you give them legit time to make this match work. If we want to see Scorpio legitimately get good singles matches opportunities, give him time. Shawn Spears is a great heel and he does great work, and I think he'll give great spotlight to Scorpio. So I think just give them time and they can do some great shit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that going forward. As far as the new members of the Nightmare family, like Lee Johnson and the Gun Club, I like Lee Johnson, and the Gun Club needs something to do. That's how I see it. It's just like, you got Billy and Dustin in there. And then it's like, you got Lee and Austin, so you got your young boy group, and it's just like, okay, that's what you want to do, let's do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And overall, though, that's all we have for AEW Dynamite for this week leading into the show. I know, Floyd, I think you might have a couple other things that you might want to talk about real quick before we sign off. So
FTR has a new jacket on ProWrestlingTees.com. It did not come in my size because they hate fat people. But satin jacket, it's their design with the Three Horsemen. I'm probably still going to buy it anyway, but I really wanted to put that out there so everybody can get that jacket and support my boys. Brandon Cutler pinned Peter Avalon on AEW Dark to make to be the not be the last person to get a win in AEW, and probably the most well-built storyline in Dark history that will ever happen. This is basically a year storyline that ended on Dark. So that is freaking amazing for all those people that's like, oh, I don't watch Dark because of this. Storylines extend on Dark. There's good matches on Dark. This was a 1-year storyline built in, and I think that's it. Let's a reminder, then let Austin do his thing. We're gonna put up the link to this show. You're gonna like it, retweet, comment with what match you're looking forward to most. I had time to think about it. What match you're looking forward to most from Full Gear, and that'll be your entry. And I'll announce it Wednesday night who wins the contest.
Yeah. And Floyd, I will say, I know the bomber jacket for FTR doesn't fit you, but I mean, like, because of how much you've been pushing and like you've been shouting out your boys on about FTR and shouting them out on the podcast and stuff, my mate, like, I will be more than down to grab one of the jackets in support of my friend and in support of like one of the greatest tag teams that we have right now. Like, no question about it.
Dude, I was like, I saw the link and I was so happy, and I like clicked on the link and I went, and they said they were having some problems with it, so I put 1, and then I go down to try 3, and I was like, there's no 3, and I refreshed. I'm like, oh man, there's no problem. I went on the PWT's VIP group and like, is there gonna be a 3? And he's like, as soon as I refresh the Pro Wrestling Tees page, it pops up. These are the only size that is going to be available. And then he's like, no, we're not getting any bigger. Broken-hearted. I'm like, again, I've never probably been that sad. I actually enjoy being big. I know there are a lot of big people out there that all they want to do is lose weight. I enjoy being big. That was like the first time in probably like 3 years where I'm like, damn it, if I was just a little bit smaller.
But yeah, man, I will gladly grab one of those jackets. Because like I haven't gotten any of their shirts yet, and like honestly, I think this would be a good thing for me to grab on there. It's because first of all, it's not a T-shirt, so my mom won't kill me about it because she's like, "You've already got too many T-shirts," and it'll be something. It looks fucking sick.
I'm literally going to send you a picture of my closet so you can show your mom, so you can say you don't have too many T-shirts.
Okay.
I have 300 T-shirts. So.
Okay. Cool. I will do that anytime she gets mad at me about T-shirts.
It's like. This is a 40-year-old man. This is how many T-shirts he has. I was like, so no, I don't have too many T-shirts. I'm still good. No, but
I haven't reached that point yet.
Yes, so I'm thinking I'm gonna buy the jacket so I can kind of drape it over me, so me, Jackie, and JR can get our.
Just grab one and get it signed by them and get it framed.
Yeah, definitely. That's an idea. But me, Jackie, and JR have been talking about getting our picture of us 3 with the jacket on. So I'm like, maybe drape it over me, on the shoulder. No, don't actually try to put it on.
You and both members of FTR can just hold it out in front of you.
Yes, that would be dope. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm giving you great picture ideas. I'm so good at this.
Yeah, all I can say is I don't see a world where I don't buy that jacket.
Regardless, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like. It's gonna happen. It's just so I can say I did it. But yeah, so I'll walk around with it draped over my shoulder. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
No, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it will. But that's all we got for you on this episode of All Things Elite. It was all around the place. Again, apologies for not being on last week, but we were able to quickly go over the big moments of last week's Dynamite. We went over this week's Dynamite, and we previewed the go-home show for next week's Dynamite. And, of course, on our next show, we'll also talk about our predictions for Full Gear, which is looking super fucking good. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and for listening to the show. We appreciate it so much. If you enjoyed it, you can download this fine show on Google or an Apple Podcasts. If you listen to Spotify as well, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure to share the episode if you enjoyed it with friends who like AEW, friends who just like pro wrestling. We really would appreciate it so much. If you enjoyed it super, super much, you can also leave a donation through Red Circle. We'd be forever grateful if you did that. And the least you could do as well, if you want to support us, you can support us by following us on social media at 18 Elite Pod is our show Twitter. At Social Suplex is our good friends at Social Suplex who help make this show possible. At SZoomer4 is myself. Again, wait until the election's over, because if this doesn't go away that I want it to, I probably will not shut up. And plus, just everything on Twitter is going to be ridiculous for the next couple days, so it might be best to be just kind of away from it for a little bit. But that's just my personal belief. I live your life how you want to live it, but just be happy, and be kind to people. And Floyd Johnson on Twitter is at Floyd Johnson Jr., but I'm not the person who gives you the kind words of advice and nice speeches before the end of the show. That's our good buddy Floyd. He's got to take us home tonight for this show. So happy Halloween. Floyd, take us home.
Happy Halloween. I want to say that. And for the last time, for about 3.5 years, I will remind you to vote and be nice to people and don't eat the unwrapped candy. But no matter what you do, whether it's trick-or-treating, watching horror movies, watching football, or just trying to survive this pandemic, no matter what you do, always do your best to be elite.